When the coronavirus was first detected in Siberia at the end of January, Russia moved quickly to restrict access along its southern border. Last month, air travel restrictions and train service suspensions followed as the virus spread to Russia's western neighbors. But the question of how Russia, a country of 144 million people, has managed to contain COVID-19 to fewer than 3,000 cases has puzzled specialists in the West. Although official data show Russian testing almost to 500,000, nearly as many as South Korea, Western critics are suspicious that the Russian government is underreporting its figures. How is Russia handling the pandemic? I'm pleased to be joined via Skype with Nikolai Markotkin, an expert at Russian International Affairs Council in Moscow. Sir, welcome to The Point. So, as I said, people are saying, let's address the elephant in the room, if there is one. The Washington Post has run 2 stories in the past week suggesting that Russian authorities have been fudging the numbers. Well, it is odd that the paper's own reporting admits that the World Health Organization has said everything appears in order. Russia's relatively low number of confirmed cases, fewer than Ireland, is still striking. So help us understand the situation. If the cases do rise as they seem to be, is Russia prepared for the worst, though?
Good afternoon, Mrs. Lee. As for the Washington Post allegations, I think they're pretty much groundless because, as you mentioned, there have been several hundred tests which Russia already made, and World Health Organization confirmed that the statistics is more or less accurate. But the reason why Russia has so few cases so far, I think, is that that the pandemic came to us later than to the other countries, and that we didn't reach the peak yet. So the government and the health care officials mentioned that we expect a peak this or next week, and we need to see the stats, how the situation will develop. So far, it's been growing quite rapidly. Now it's almost 3,000 cases, but the dynamic is not that bad actually, because yesterday it was 500 new cases, now it's 400 something, so it's not too bad. But we hope that we can contain the pandemic until the weather improves, and it will naturally help.
How much is this pandemic featured in the daily discussions, both in the government, in the parliament, or among the general public? Are they taking enough measures to prevent the spread of the virus?
Well, of course, it occupies the minds of everyone in Russia so far. I think now it's hard to find any news piece which is not dedicated to coronavirus. People are speaking about it between themselves, and the government keeps informing people. I think, in general, people are content so far with the government actions because the policy is more or less efficient. What is concerning people is that, first of all, this week we have been put on self-isolation mode, most of the big cities, and people are not used to that situation. Of course, it's uncomfortable for them, especially for the old people. But another concern is for the business, of course, because a lot of businesses were put on hold, and they're afraid that if the situation lasts, that might affect them. A lot of them might close, actually.
Okay, let me bring in our Chinese expert, Professor Su Hao, Director of the Center for Strategic and Peace Studies at China Foreign Affairs University. Professor Su, thank you very much for joining us. How do you look at the question of transparency raised by Western journalists or press on the numbers coming out of Russia? How do China look at these numbers?
Well, actually, comparing China and Western Europe, the number of infected disease cases in Russia is still much fewer. So some comments from the Western mass media say that it's not real number. But I think that comparing the Chinese case, all the situation. I think that it's understandable that in Russia, or in particular in Moscow, so far the effective case number is not too much bigger. But the recent days, the increased number has been dramatically. So I think that this is the truth that the Russians, the case already had been worse. So the reason why just recent week, this coming week, Russia's government and Putin's president already make very strict measure against the virus. So far, it is efficient, right, in the city of Moscow. And all the people, all the citizens had been quarantined within their home. And, the citizens of the Russia so far had been supportive to the Russian government.
Yeah. Mr. Markotkin, let me ask you about the economic, the financial impact of this pandemic. I mean, Russia's economy was hit by a severe crisis a couple of years ago, and there are reports saying that the Russian economy is already rocked by the coronavirus outbreak. So is Russia prepared to weather the coming storm that many are predicting?
Well, the truth is, of course, that the situation is not easy at all. The coronavirus pandemic came in a very unfortunate time because the oil prices dropped dramatically earlier this month, the past month in March. And that affects the Russian economy quite a lot because that is our big export component. And together with the restrictive measures, of course, it affects the economy. Our currency deteriorated quite a lot. But so far, the government is taking measures to support the business, and there are, depending on the point of view, some people expect that there will be more demand after pandemic. The quarantine measures will stop, since people will continue to go to the shops, the restaurants, and that will have to relaunch the economy. But of course, the supportive measures will be needed probably the whole year, and we expect a negative GDP growth, as many other countries, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Well, the world is kind of expecting quite a big recession. Professor Su, China and Russia are very close as partners. So what kind of interaction? I understand on February the 5th, a Russian team together with materials have arrived in Wuhan, and China also reciprocated with assistance to Russia. What kind of collaboration, cooperation has been going on between these two countries?
Yes, China and Russia will have the comprehensive strategic partnership. So we have a very good cooperative relation with each other, in particular in this anti-virus war. So as you mentioned, that's at the beginnings of the outbreak of Chinese coronavirus disease, Russia already sent their medical team to China. And they will have joint work together, not only just the antivirus, but also will try to create some kind of the vaccine for the long term anti this coronavirus. So far, the Russia already developed quite well. So I think that in the coming months, China and Russia could work together and to try to develop their efficient antivirus of the vaccine. So that I think that could be successful in the coming months.
Okay. Thank you so much. We're going to leave it there. Nikolai, Markotkin joining us from Moscow, and Professor Su Hao here in Beijing. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin. As always, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter using the handle The Point with LX. Download the application called CGTN to watch the show on your mobile devices, or go to YouTube and look for CGTN The Point. Thanks for watching. You've got The Point.